Hi, my name's Leo and I'm a boat builder and a sailor. A few years ago I bought a very old and quite famous wooden sailing boat for the price of $1, and since then I've been rebuilding that boat from the keel up with the help of a lot of amazing people. In this episode we're going to be looking at building Tally's standing rig. Now the rig of the boat in general consists of the spars, the sails, the standing rig, the running rig, and then associated hardware and blocks. We're going to be going over to Brion Toss Rigging at the other end of town, and they are building the standing rig and the running rig. The running rig consists of the lines which control the sails, and the standing rig consists of the wires or lines which connects the rig to the hull and holds the whole thing up.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, we can go the other way if you want.
No, that's fine.
My name's Ian, and here we are at the Brion Toss Rigging shop where we have built Tally's rig.
These are really big spectacles.
My name is Jen Bates, and I work at Brion Toss Yacht Wreckers, and today we're going to be working on some of Tally's rigging. We are going to sew this piece of leather around a gaff span eye before we splice it. And we are doing a baseball stitch, which can be done with one person, but it goes much quicker with two. That's about what we're gonna do.
And who's helping you?
This is Chance. This is my son Chance.
Hi.
And we're stitching half, and then we'll turn around and go the other way with these threads. And the needles are blunted on the end so that you don't poke through the leather. It just goes through the 3-punched hole.
I think it was about 2.5 years ago, that Leo came in. We sat down and had a meeting and talked about the rig, the process, what needed to be done. Between then and now, a lot of work has happened.
Here's a couple of Tally's topmast shrouds that we've finished already, just waiting for the topmast to go on, which we might be helping with here in the coming weeks. You can see the finished leather, the finished eye, and we've started the full-length service down here. We haven't completed it because we still have to do a preliminary stepping of the topmast to establish our lengths. Then we'll take it back out, build them to their proper length, finish the service, and slushing. But yeah,
What's
the finished
slushing?
piece.
And why is that serving so light colored?
This serving is so light colored because it is meant to mimic hemp, which would have been the flavor of the day in the natural fiber era. It is synthetic, it is a polyester, and it has a bit of a tar in it. I think it smells lovely. Chance thinks it smells like a wet goat, which he's probably more accurate. But we will slush this with a sort of pine tar black paint varnish mixture to not only turn it black, but to protect the service from the elements.
So this is one of 2 eyes on a gaff span that is going to go on the gaff. The gaff span helps raise and lower the sail.
We had Tally's sail plan, the current version, and from that we were able to dimension some rig lengths and stuff, but even before that we had to understand the loads that boat could put on the rig and therefore help us determine what size the rigging needed to be. That involved a pretty lengthy load study of the boat. We got riding moments, which were informed by probably thousands of points of data, in which we take that and we divide up that load between the different shrouds on the boat, understanding which shroud's going to take which percent of the load, and dimension the shroud with a safety factor to take that load. For all the years that we've been using wire and iron, stainless and iron for rigging, we've dimensioned those bits by how strong they are to support the load that they needed to take. With this modern fiber that we're putting on, we don't dimension it for strength. We kind of have to speak a new language. We dimension it for creep, which is it's a material property of elongation over time. It's not stretch. Stretch is like elastic. retracts, it bounces back. Creep is just a slow elongation. And when we get the creep target correct, we end up with a rig that's 3 to 5 times stronger than if it was going to be galvanized iron, which would have been traditional for this boat. And we've saved about 75% of the weight.
Yeah.
Go for 700 on here.
The service is wrapping the shrouds in marlin, small diameter marlin, and that goes way back to the days of natural fiber. The serving mallet holds the spool of string of marlin, and that marlin is wound around the neck or the handle of the mallet. A calculated number of turns, it might be different for each scenario, and we'll put a little bit of lanolin on there as a little bit of lubricant. But those turns put just the right amount of tension on that string so that the service that's going on the shroud gets laid on with just the right amount of tension. Not too tight, but not too loose. And it's applying one turn at a time, and you want it tuned just right so that one turn that's being laid on is just slipping off the shoulder of the turn that was laid down previously. So those two are now right next to each other. There's no holiday or gap between the two.
It's going to be okay. And what's the tool you're using?
It's called a serving mallet. Kind of a cool tool. It's pretty old. It holds the string down here, and then the head sits on the shroud, and it feeds it on pretty perfectly. So since it's so long, you can fly this mallet, which means you throw it and then give the string oscillation, and the mallet goes around by itself, which is kind of a nice way to expedite serving.
Perfect.
I really like serving. I was the one who did most of the rig, and we did it inside in the back room, so we were just doing like super long stretches without having to reset. So fun. This was sort of done a lot on wire, which has weight to it. So you literally don't have to do anything. You can just stand here and sort of wiggle the rope or wiggle the wire a little bit, and it does a lot of the work for you because it has weight. Since the synthetic shrouds are super light, it means you have to really work the mallet around every single time. So you get kind of out of breath and tired from spinning the mallet all day.
So it's a good workout.
Yeah. Perfect. Cool.
Does it look good?
Yeah, it looks all right. I think it looks great. Cool.
Nice.
Now, I know what some of you out there might be thinking: why go to the trouble of laboriously serving all the shrouds when you could just put some kind of chafe sleeve over it? Well, actually, serving has a lot of advantages. One big advantage is inspectability and repairability. You can actually take off a small section of serving very easily to inspect the shroud underneath it, and then you can put it back on or repair it, replace it with a new section. It can come on and off while the shroud is still attached to the rig and the boat. Whereas a sleeve, you would have to cut it to open it, and then you can't get a new piece on without taking the whole shroud off. Also, the serving is much tighter on the shroud than a sleeve ever could be, and that is important because there are some things which will have to be lashed to the shrouds, and if there's a sleeve on it, then it would have some movement, it wouldn't be effective. That also makes it much better for gripping it and for climbing. Serving is pretty universal. It can go on any type of shroud as long as you have some of the marlin and a serving mallet. You can put it on pretty much anywhere in the world very easily, whereas obviously some kind of sleeve you'd have to have different sizes for each different size of line. And it's actually pretty cost effective, even taking into account the time that it takes to put the service on. Now, all these benefits apply to the fiber rigging that we're using, and there would be even more benefits if we were using wire or natural fiber rigging. And another benefit is just the sort of tradition of it. This is how it's been done for hundreds of years. I think it's really important and really fun to learn these skills and keep them going, and for young people like Chance to be learning them and getting skilled at them. And it also looks very appropriate on a boat like this. The serving makes this rig look exactly like sailing rigs have looked for hundreds of years.
So we're stitching the second half of the leather, and we start in the middle and do it in 2 halves so that you have less thread to pull through. Well, the thread for Tallyho's forestay was 50 feet long, and the thread for this little piece here is 22 feet altogether. It's doubled, so.
And you gotta find the middle.
Yeah, it's quite the process to find the middle. Kind of unconventional rigging glue, little glue just to keep the ends in there.
No trade secret?
Yeah, little trades.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. It's another one of Brion's
Yeah.
things. Yeah. So that's done, and now it's ready for splicing.
Now, in this video and in other videos, I've talked a lot about the reasons why I've chosen to go with a textile or fiber rig in this case, and certainly that material does have certain advantages. And I do want to make it really clear though that it's not necessarily a better or a worse material than other materials. There are advantages and disadvantages to every type of material, and certainly using stainless steel or galvanized wire can make a really, really excellent rig. The really key thing, I think, is understanding the material that you're using, or working with a rigger who understands it really well. Stainless steel wire, for example, can be spliced very effectively and well by someone who knows what they're doing, and so that can be a really appropriate choice for a lot of boats. Galvanized wire, of course, is very traditional and can be very long lasting, but has to be treated in the right way. So as with many things, there's not necessarily a right or a wrong choice. It depends on the vessel, the situation. In our case, a lot of it was to do with weight aloft, and because of the changes I've made to the hull and the added equipment we're putting in, needing to reduce the weight aloft to make up for that and maintain the original stability of the boat.
Yeah, rigging is a nuanced art, and there's a heck of a lot that goes into it, and there's also a lot of misunderstanding about what goes into it. And we cannot pick up the tools or pick up the material until we've done all of the previous work prior, which we just call the head work, which is the design work, which is all the trig, which is all the math, which is all the load study to dimension all those components. When we do pick up the tools, we have to lay out the rope. Once the rope is cut, we then figure out our soft eye circumference. And remember, the soft eye is the loop that slips over the mast and rests on the thumb cleats or the bolsters or the trestles. We come back here and we splice the rope. And the splice in this rope, in our opinion, is the simplest braided rope splice there is. It's not rocket science. It's very easy to tuck and taper this splice. But it's all the work that leads up to that splice, which makes the process a little more difficult.
So I'm marking the tail right now, the tail length from the bottom of the brummel.
Can you explain what the brummel is?
The Brummel is a Mobius Brummel, so the ends of the rope pass through each other and it locks. So you can put this under tension and the rope will fetch up against itself as it's passed through each other. And then we bury a tail after the Brummel, and that keeps the Brummel balanced when it's under tension. Just having the tail buried into the rope.
Now I want to give a big thank you to a company called Caligo Marine. Obviously the material for this standing rigging, the dyneema line, is fairly expensive, and one of the reasons I felt able to go with this choice is that John, who runs Caligo Marine, got in touch early on and offered us a very good rate on the material, and he ended up actually donating all of the dyneema for Tallyho's rig, which is amazing. It's a lot of line, a lot of expensive, highly engineered line, and it's not that cheap, so that was a huge gift from them. Now, from what I understand, Caligo Marine really do produce the best quality material for a dyneema rig. Brion Toss Rigging have been working with Caligo Marine for over a decade now, I think, and they rate them very, very highly. If you are interested in putting dyneema rig on your boat, do check out Caligo Marine. I'll put a link in the description of this video, and of course they've got all the technical stuff on their website. You can phone them and get a lot of information, and big thank you to Caligo Marine for supporting this project.
I just spliced a Mobius Brummel. I passed the ends of the rope through each other, and so now we have the soft eye that's going to go around the gaff, and now I'm going to mark the tail for tapering.
The splice tail in this material is 72 times the diameter. That's based on uncovered dyneema. On different covered options, you can go less because there's more compression from that cover. And in that 72 times the diameter, we have a very strategic and even tapering method to pluck out individual strands to make a nice taper back down to zero, so there's no stress riser in the rope causing a weak spot.
Beautiful.
Once that's done and the splice is done, we take that shroud into the back room where we've got a 48-foot long bench with a hydraulic ram, and we have to pull that rope to set the splice. And on Tallyho's 13mm shrouds, we have to stretch them to 4,000 pounds to set the splice, to turn that piece of rope into a static piece of standing rigging.
So we are going to set the splice and get a splice take up. So we're going to figure out how much the rope shrank when we put the tail inside of it, because that's crucial to getting the correct length. And we're going to do it on this amazing stretching bench that we have. We're going to put 2,000 pounds of pressure on this piece of line here, 9mm, for the gaff span.
Cool.
Okay.
Impressive. What's so special about this bench?
What's so special about it?
In case people haven't noticed.
It has this gigantic I-beam and there's a structure behind it, and that keeps it from bending in the middle. There's a lug at either end, and then there's a hydraulic ram under here that pulls this piece of rope, and you'll see it going that way. And then this machine up here is a load cell. Now this end is ready for service. We're going to serve it for 10 inches or so, and then we'll work on the other end.
Thanks, Jen. Looks fantastic.
I think so too.
Well, the folks down at Brion Toss Rigging have been and are doing a fantastic job putting together the standing rig, and they'll be soon working on the running rig as well. So obviously some of that is on the boat already, and there's lots more going on down at the workshop. Very soon, hopefully, relatively soon anyway, we'll be putting the bowsprit out and putting the topmast up and getting all the standing rigging and running rigging that support those spars made and in place. So that's really exciting, looking forward to it. But that's all we've got time for right now. So thanks a lot for watching, and a massive, massive thank you to everyone who has donated or otherwise supported this project. It does make a huge difference. It means we're able to carry on doing this work, and we're able to keep on making and editing these videos. So I really, really appreciate it. And I'll see you next time. Cheers.